Lesson 8.1, Relations and Functions. A relation is a set of ordered pairs. A domain is the set of all inputs. The range is the set of all outputs. What is an input? An input is each number in a domain. An output is each number in a range. A function is a relation with the property that for each input there is exactly one output. This is key to remember what a function is. For each input, there is exactly one output. You can tell if it's a function by using the vertical line test. If you find a vertical line passing through one or more points of a graph of a relation, then the relation is not a function. Otherwise, the relation is a function. Let's talk a little bit more about what a domain, range, and input-output are. First of all, it's representing your ordered pair x, comma, y. X is called your input. Y's are your outputs. That means all the x's represent the domain. Please write this down. All the y's represent the range. Something that we didn't talk about is the fact that the x's are independent. They don't rely on anything else to affect them. They're independent. Or y is dependent. It relies on what x is in order to give us the answer what y is. Write this down. Example 1, identify the domain and range of the relation. Well, I told you that the domain is all the x's. So what this says down here, and you can write it down, is that all of this is the domain. All the y's are the range. And when you write the domain and range, make sure you put them in order from least to greatest. Okay? Remember to put them in order from least to greatest. In example 2, represent the relation, and this is a list of ordered pairs as indicated. First, we're going to graph them. So we're going to graph the ordered pairs as points in a coordinate plane. Remember to do this, the x always comes first, so I go over -3, up -2. -2, down -2. Again, the x comes first, then the y. 1 is here, 1, 3 is here, and 2, -3 is there. Now let's do a mapping diagram. What we need to do is list the inputs and outputs in order, and then draw arrows from the inputs to the outputs. So, going back, I want to put -3, -2, 1. I only need to use the 1 once. I know there's 2 1s, but I only need to use it once. I'm just listing the x's. Let me show you over here first. -3, -2, 1, and then I believe it was 2. And I kind of draw this oval to represent the mapping. And now I draw in order. I want to do it in order, my y. So -3, -2, 1, 2, 3. -3, -2, 1, 2, 3. And now I draw a line representing the ordered pairs. So the x negative 3 went to positive 2. Negative 2 went to negative 2. 1 went to 1. 1 also went to 3. And 2 went to negative 3. Let's identify functions. Tell whether the relation is a function. The relation example 1. Okay, if we go back to example 1, we're looking to see if one input, and that's what they're going to explain here, it is a function because every input is paired with exactly one output. This makes sense as a single tree can have only one height at a given time. In example 2, though, this is not going to be a function. This input 1, and you can see on the map, goes to 2 outputs. Oops. So a general rule to tell whether it's a function is look to see if the x or the input repeats. It's not a function. It's not a function. It's only about the x's. If the x repeats, it's not a function. The y can repeat as much as it wants. It's all about the x, or the input. Definitely write this rule down. You will need to know it because it helps you figure out what a function is. For your checkpoint, identify the domain and the range of the relation and tell it whether the relation is a function. You can do this by just looking at the inputs. If the input repeats, then it's not a function. Pause the video, try 1 and 2. First of all, let's list the domains and then the ranges. Again, we put them in least to greatest. Range is, and even the range, I put in least to greatest. So -1, 0, 2, 3, 4. You can see these are my inputs. It is a function. Number 2, domain in order from least to greatest. I don't need 2 3s. Range, order from least to greatest. -1, 0, 1, 2, 3. This is not a function because these 3's repeated. Now, when I write my domain, just to reiterate here, you can see I only wrote 1, 3, even though it repeated. So when you see that this repeats, you know it's not a function right away. But again, the domain only includes 1, 3. We can also use a vertical line test to identify if it's a function or not. So what I want to do is, through these points, I want to just draw a vertical line. And if it passes through, as best as you can, if it passes through more than one point, it's not a relation. If you see, or it is a relation, excuse me. This is a relation because it only passes through one point. Again, if it passes through more than one point, or ordered pair, it is not a function. This is the general rule for a vertical line test. If it passes through more than one point, This one you can see, well, here as well, it passes through more than one, and obviously the one that they showed you, see that passes through 2 here. That means this is not a function. Remember, a function is a relationship between the domain and range.